Hey, what's kicking, everybody? Alex here with REIClub.com, serving you another episode of Ask an Expert. Now, if you don't know, REI Club's mission is to teach folks like you how to invest in real estate to replace your income and live the life you want. And if you don't know about our tribe, it is called the Unemployables. And essentially, they're a group of powerhouses that just aren't made to have a boss. So if that sounds like you, head on over to facebook.com/groups/unemployables. Well, I am pumped to have today's expert here with me today. Even had the pleasure of meeting him last month. Been super looking forward to this. So piping hot welcome to the CEO of Skipforce and Starhouse Acquisitions, Mike Singletary. Welcome, Mike.
What's going on, Alex? How you doing?
Just cranking over here. Really a long time coming. Excited to have you. And, to be candid, I'm learning as we go here too. So I want to start with getting a quick lowdown on your background, Skipforce, and whatever makes you the expert.
I don't know. I think to become an expert, you just do it a lot, right? That's it. So my background is non-traditional. I mean, I was in a totally different industry about 8 years ago. I was in the hair industry, which is ironic. But there's so much that's happened in the last 7 years because I'm still an investor. We probably purchased over 300 homes in the Central Texas area. And then we started Skipforce about 2 years ago because out of necessity, right? We wanted to find a way to get cheaper data, better data for a better price, like most entrepreneurs. And I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life. I'm one of the unemployables. And so we've just been rocking and rolling and doing our thing.
Very, very cool. I actually worked for a software company a couple years ago, and they had skip tracing as an auxiliary feature, but this is your prowess. This is your mastery. And that was more of a kind of, as I said, auxiliary, superficial, not at all comprehensive feature. So really excited to dive in and really learn more about it. So we know the expert now. Let's start the asking. Are you ready?
Yeah, shoot. Let's go.
All right. So for those who don't know, what is skip tracing?
So skip tracing actually was formed a long time ago. I guess the name derived because bounty hunters were trying to find people before they skipped town. So it's essentially gathering contact information so they could track somebody, right? For our particular clients, obviously what they're wanting is they want contact information so they can market to them and see if they're interested in selling their property. So it's primarily for people that utilize telecommunications marketing, which is cold calling and SMS campaigns.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that is the bane of a lot of investors' existence, the frustration of identifying a deal and then not being able to get in touch with them. So very
Absolutely.
big problem that you're solving here with Skipforce.
Yeah, we enable people to have conversations, right? That's how everything starts. It's just to have that conversation with somebody.
Right. It's important to just start and, see where it goes. So I kind of guess that's a great segue into the next question, which is, can I skip property addresses or do I have to use individual names?
So that's a great question. I mean, essentially what skip tracing and every provider is the same. It's a kind of a matching game, right? So you send us your list and then we scrub it against the repository or our repository. And our repository is different from everybody else because we get it directly from the phone carriers, right? And then we send it back to you. Now, it has everything to do with how much information you give us that is exact. I mean, so can you give us an address and we give you phone numbers? Absolutely. But we're probably going to give you some phone numbers of people that owned that property 20 years ago, right? So if you have the name, address, city, and state, super important because that's going to get you better results.
It makes sense. The more info you have, the higher likelihood you'll receive, the most accurate data. So.
Absolutely. And we get that complaint a lot. And a lot of times we have to reverse engineer the list, right? So also when it comes to data, the fresher the data, the better, because sometimes you're buying it from a provider that really doesn't update their data list very, very often. And we're hitting moving target, right? A lot of our clients, they don't want to be found. They're trying to, not receive all those phone calls from debt collectors. They're losing their house. They're moving. So the quality of the list is super important.
Oh, that makes sense. What about company name? Can you skip by company name?
Yeah, we could definitely skip by company name, but full disclosure is not nearly as good as individual. I know that everybody out there is trying to rock that they get LLCs and stuff like that. We do too, right? But there's nobody killing it. I mean, what you're going to get is a much lower contact ratio and hit rate. And how you want to navigate through that is have a VA go to the Secretary of State and get the members' names. And you can use their business address if you don't want to look up their business address. You can use their business address as the address, and it's going to increase your probability greatly, right? We have a VA that does it. One VA, we pay them $2, $3 an hour. They could knock out about 800 a day.
That's insane. I mean, I know
Yeah,
that
it's
VAs
crazy,
are,
right? They're beasts.
they do not get paid enough for, I
Well,
mean,
I mean, for them and
right.
where they are, right, it's totally different. So,
For sure. No, they are a kind of a godsend, especially in this industry. So yeah. So in addition to making sure that you have the most accurate and complete data to plug in, what else do I have to do to get the best results?
another great question. So, like I said, it has everything to do with the data that you submit to your provider, us or anybody else. So, a lot of investors, especially if they're new and they don't understand the game, they'll just download the list from like a list provider. There's a whole bunch of them out there, right? Or they get it from the county and they don't clean it. So, sometimes, especially when you get it from the county, you get like all these fields, like 27 fields that you don't need, right? Because the main thing you need is a name, address, city, state, zip, that type of stuff. And you got to eliminate the rest, right? And then you have to look at your list and clean it up. Like, because some counties or some list providers will have both the first names in the first name column, like, John and Jane. So you really want to split John and Jane into two different columns because you want to have the highest probability of reaching somebody that lives that house. You want to make sure that the streets are spelled out, because sometimes they're not. A lot of times data is inputted by people. So people make mistakes, right? So you want to just make sure that it's as clean as possible because going back to what we were talking about before, it's a matching game. If that data is clean, it's a much higher probability that you're going to get back not only a high hit rate but high accuracy.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, and you touched on cleaning your list. How do I clean my list? Like you explained to me what that was, but how does one go about it? Is it an Excel thing? Is there a program, or is it all
It's an
kind of
Excel
manual?
thing. That's where people get tripped up the most. You know what I mean? It's like because we're investors. The last thing we want to do is pound down some Excel formulas, right? So
Right.
you could probably go to Fiverr and get somebody that could clean that for you. That was probably the route I would go if you have a VA in house. Teach them. You just got to figure that out one time, make an SOP, and then they could do it for you. That's what we do with our business. We could do it at Skip Force. We do it for some of our clients. It's going to be a charge. There's no doubt about that. But we always tell people like, get the SOPs down and then have a VA do it. And it's going to be so much more effective use of your time and also obviously of your money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those VAs and they'll save you that time, delegate. That's a major theme in this space too. So
And especially I remember, like, I've only been in this space 7 years, right? So I remember what it was like before when you're like the Lone Ranger and you're kind of doing everything on your own. And you're like, man, I don't even know if I have the SOPs to hire a VA or what that process looks like. But if you get to the point to where you can execute that, it's gonna be a game changer for you.
for sure. Now, SOPs are standard operating procedures. That's for
Yeah,
the
you have to have a process, man. You know what I mean? A repeatable process that you just give somebody and they can do it over and over again. Because I mean, truthfully, you don't want to spend your time doing that stuff. You should be going out talking to people. That's what you need to be doing, right? Talking to people, getting deals.
That's right. Use Skip Force and use your voice and don't spin your wheels. So that makes sense. So once it's
Absolutely.
clean, how do I submit to Skip Force?
Yeah, super simple, right? So there's two things for us. So we have a members portal, which is $49 a month, but it gives you access to 8 cent skip tracing, which is usually about 40% less than our competitors for top tier data, right? So that's crazy good. Now, with that, it's super simple because you can just upload it and you don't have to completely clean your list. We have a parser there that will upload the fields and assign it to the appropriate spot on its own, right? So that kind of helps investors. Another one would be a very traditional way of uploading, like most skip tracing places. You download the Excel template. It'll be formatted in a very specific way. You know what I mean? First name, last name, city, straight, but it's going to be in a certain order. Every single provider has a different way of doing it. And you got to make sure that those are populated in the right order, or you're just going to come back with poor results, right? So you do
Yeah.
that and you submit it up, and then you should have your files within 2 to 4 hours.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I my experience in Excel is extensive for better or for worse, and there is
Yeah.
nothing more annoying than one little rogue period or a misspelling when you're trying to upload it into something that has really specific specifications for being able to produce whatever it is. And so I don't know if you have any tips for folks out there to, you know, just minimize the time spent on
I wish I did.
re-uploading.
I am my avatar, right? I'm a sales guy that I'm a, bull running downhill with a hair on fire. The last thing I want to do is look at an Excel spreadsheet and pound that out. And so that's why we created that thing called a members portal to kind of help people out. But it's just like anything else, right? I mean, you have to like get into the weeds and the details of things, because everything is in the margins. Like, we're hitting a very small, specific percentage of people that want to sell the house. And then out of those people, wanting to sell it at a discount. And then out of those, you have to be in front of them at the right time. And so anything that you can control that kind of helps you along that process is going to be a big plus. So you have to like at least put that initial time in to learn how to clean it. You know what I mean? Because it's not overly difficult. It really isn't. It's just time, right? To learn how to clean it specifically the way that provider wants, and then it's going to pay off in dividends. And after that, you just hire somebody out. I'm a big outsourcing guy. I outsource almost everything, truthfully.
Preach, preach.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. I can. Some my wife thinks I'm lazy, but I'm like, I am. I'm lazy. I'm the hardest working lazy guy you'll ever meet, right? I want to outsource everything. So
Work smart, that's
yeah,
okay, but work smarter, not harder.
absolutely. Absolutely.
So what do I get for my order when I submit it? Once it's clean, what do I get?
Yeah, super great question. Like, so some providers, you'll get the phone numbers and emails, and a bunch of other things like bankruptcies and deaths and stuff like that. And not saying there's anything wrong with that. We don't provide that, right? I mean, our focus is giving you the highest quality phone numbers, the newest, freshest known phone numbers. So we give you like things like a quality score for the number. We give you the time of day that phone number is most active, because we could grade the activity of that phone number associated with that prospect. So that's super new technology. You don't really see it out. That's the reason why that we get our source different from everybody else, right? So we could even flip your list. We call it flip your list, but essentially it's repurposing numbers. So if you take phone numbers, just give us phone numbers from another provider that wasn't working for you, we could grade those numbers, put a grade on it, obviously, and then see if there's another number that's associated with that prospect that has a higher grade. So you're able to squeeze out another 10%. But typically, we only send out 3 phone numbers, because really after that it's just a waste of your time and a waste of your cold caller's time, right? Because sometimes you get like 8 9 numbers. It just kind of bogs down your system. Also allows us to give you the cheaper prices, because it's more a la carte. If you want just the phone numbers, we'll give you just the phone numbers. If you want emails, we'll give you that also. That's 3 cents. That's different, right? So you get 3 appends, and if you want emails as well, as long as the number quality score and optimal call window.
Well, you just knocked out several of my questions there. I was going to ask you email addresses, how many numbers. You just
Yeah, we just
um,
focus on top ones, man. That's all. It only takes one number, right? So whenever you're getting 8 numbers, I mean, a lot of systems you can't even upload all those, and there's nothing worse for an ISA, because we started a call center as well. It's going to be called ISA Pros. It's not live yet. It will be, but we are very, very familiar. We have about 20 ISAs that work with us. For my own personal business, about 6. So we're very familiar with cold calling, which I feel like is probably the best lead generating platform right now. And there's nothing worse for an ISA than sitting around. Just the phone goes to voicemail, wrong numbers. It just kills morale, kills your pipeline too.
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So is there a minimum order, or can I submit, a line of 7?
On the members, there's no minimum order. So on members, you want to submit 10, that's fine. We even give you 250 free single searches that's associated with that as well. Now, on the standard batch, which you don't have to pay a membership, some people think that you have to be a member to get our service. You don't. But on standard batch, it's a 200 minimum.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The pricing is tiered. It goes from 12 cents down to 8 cents. Any list above 5,000, it's at 8 cents, right? So we even tell people, I'm like, what's your volume? And they're like, well, we usually do about 10,000. There's no need to be a member. If you're doing about 10,000, just go ahead and get it. You get the same price, right? You save the $49. You don't have to give it to me. But the benefit of being a member, even if you're doing high volume, is a lot of investors, they want to send in smaller niche lists, right? So they want to send 100, 50, 67, whatever these small ones that have their VA send in every single day, and you're able to get this lower price.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So you hit on the tiers. Is
Mhm.
there a difference between tier 1 and tier 2 data?
That's kind of a made up thing that's been thrown around recently, and all it really means is high quality data compared to obviously not the best quality. And the only reason why the quality is different is because of time, right? So, like we said earlier, we're dealing with a moving target, people that are constantly moving around. So, if you are not updating your repository on a consistent basis, like we do it daily, because that's how important we feel it is. Then that number is going to get a little older. So what some providers do is like they buy the number and then they repurpose it. Like they'll sell that same number a year, 2 years. And so the quality just diminishes over time, right? So you have to be really, really careful who you use. Like there's a lot of times you get what you pay for. But with us, since we source it directly, we're able to give the best of both worlds. We're able to get a good price and we're able to get the freshest number. So when you're talking about tier 1, tier 2 data, it just really has to do with how old those numbers are. Yeah.
Okay. So you mentioned how some providers will double dip.
Yeah. Double
How
dip. Right.
it's not cool.
Repurpose. It's a good word. Yeah, I know. Totally
Sure.
not cool. Totally not cool. Right.
Seems like a
Yeah.
euphemism. So how does one prevent on their end from buying the same data twice? Just pick the right provider?
Well, I mean, most providers, that's deduping, right? They take away the duplicates, right? That's what deduping kind of means. So most providers will do that for you. We'll do it for any client within up to 6 months, right? That anything that you send to us, we'll obviously extract that, and that way you're not being charged twice. A lot of times, I mean, even then though, you want to take personal responsibility. I mean, going back to that, you want to be able to take that extra step in-house if you can. Scrub that list against your own database. Learn how to do that. You know what I mean? Don't be lazy. Actually learn these small little steps. It's going to save you a ton of money, and don't depend on other people to do it for you. Now, obviously we do it for our clients and other providers do it as well, but I'm a control freak. I want to be able to control, as much as I can to give the best odds to success.
So I feel like you touched on this question,
Sure.
but
Talk to me.
what makes Skipforce different from other providers? You mentioned obviously quality of the data. You provide extra resources to help people save time. What else can you leave us with?
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think the biggest thing for us is that, listen, we're not for everybody, right? So if you're hitting like super vacant list, super deceased, that's not us. We're not going to be able to help you out because we source our data different from everybody else. So how we do it is that we look at the activity level through the phone carriers for the last 12 months. So like, for example, my father's been deceased for 10 years. So if I put his information in, I don't care how exact it is, it comes out with nothing, right? Because that's not how we source it. So a lot of clients, because most providers don't say this, so I'm going to drop something here. Most big time investors is what they do is that they use two different skip tracing services, because what you want to have is a repository that's different, right? So you run it through, like, say, us, because we're probably going to be cheaper, so it makes more sense to run through us. Get all those numbers, classify which ones are wrong numbers and stuff like that, and then run the other one through another source. Now, the worst thing you could do is run two different skip tracing services and find out it's from the same source, so that it doesn't benefit you at all. But if you actually run it from another source, what you'll find is that you're going to get another 10 to 20% from your list, right? Which is huge over time. So what makes us different? We get our phone from the phone carriers. We're able to grade the phone numbers. We're able to tell you the time of day. Like no other provider can tell you that the time of day that phone number is most active. Actually, that technology is a little bit ahead of its time. But if you use it, that's another 10%. So these little small incremental progresses, right, stacks up over time. And that's the game.
Yeah, and it's on the cutting edge, and so members or non-members can expect for it just to continue evolving and to continue, being more precise. So I feel like that is a
Awesome.
reason in itself to go with you guys.
I appreciate you. Yeah, for sure. We got some things in the works. I think that's going to really bring value, but I don't want to talk about that right now. Maybe our next interview.
We don't want to blow any secrets. Yeah,
Our next one, we're still working on it.
cool. Well, that was our final question, Mike. Ending on a strong
Awesome.
note. Is there anything that we missed that you want to, hit home with?
You know what? I'm going to give some value here because I think that's important, right? So most of my day is spent talking to investors, right? Talking to investors about their business, talking to investors, how we could help them, that type of stuff. And of course, the one question that we always get is like, what are the best lists, right? We get that all the time. What are the best lists? Now, if you're using telecommunications, that means that you are, cold calling, and especially if you have a team, you're going to need a bunch of data, right? Because it goes out real quick now. But if you're a smaller guy, you want to kind of niche it down, right? Get the more distressed list, cold call it yourself, get a dialer and call it yourself, which I think is the right way to do it at the beginning. Is the best way to for lead generation. So I would probably figure out what zip codes has the highest cash buyers in that zip code. And you could do that through ListSource and other platforms, right? Have the highest cash buyers, focus only on those zip codes, and focus on like absentees, seniors. But here's a big one: tax delinquents too. Those are big ones. But here's one that hardly anybody ever focuses on: POAs. If you get power of attorney list, it's a game changer. So
Boom.
there's a nugget for you.
Thank you for the nuggets. Lots of nuggets today, Mike. Thank you so much for your
Awesome,
time.
for sure.
And thank you to the unemployables for
I
tuning
love you
in.
guys, by the way. Yeah, I'm an unemployable. I've never had a real job.
We'll send you a t-shirt.
I got one. Thanks, guys. Should have
Awesome.
worn it.
You could have been wearing it. What were we thinking?
I know, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you to the tribe. Thank you to you. Have a great rest of your day. And until next time.
Awesome. Peace out.